"You don't remember me?" he whispered, like the words themselves could shatter. And God help me didn't. Not a single piece of him lived in my head, though he stood inches from me with tears burning his face like truth I had forgotten. The doctor had told me this might happen. Amnesia, they called it. Your brain shut the door on pieces of your past after the accident. But I hadn't expected the door to slam so violently, erasing not just days or weeks, but a person. He was a stranger and yet not. His voice carried an ache that felt too familiar, like a song I once knew by heart but couldn't sing anymore. He stood at the foot of my hospital bed that morning, fists shaking, lips trembling, eyes that had clearly memorized every inch of me. And I, like an imposter in my own life, just stared. The irony? When the judge called his name in court 2 weeks later, the same man who claimed to love me, who claimed we had built a life together, broke down in front of everyone. His sobs cracked the silence of the courtroom. A sound so raw, so desperate, it rattled the steel of my chest. That was the moment something inside me shifted. But I'm moving too fast. Let me take you back. I woke up to white ceilings and the steady beep of machines, the kind of sterile brightness that burns through foggy eyelids. My head throbbed. My body felt like it had been stitched together with barbed wire. Nurses floated in and out, all kindness and efficiency. And then a doctor came with words I didn't want to hear. Severe concussion, broken ribs, but you'll heal. Physically. The pause after physically was a landmine. When I asked about memory, his jaw tightened. You may not recall certain events, or people. And then they let him in. He walked slowly, like the air itself weighed him down. His shirt was wrinkled, his knuckles scraped, his eyes carrying days of sleeplessness. I didn't know his name then, didn't know what we had been, but I knew one thing: he looked at me like I was his whole damn world. Eli, he said softly, voice breaking. I blinked. I'm sorry. Do I know you? His face fell like a house collapsing inward. He pressed a hand against his mouth, nodded once, and whispered, Yeah, you did. The days after felt like living in a borrowed body. They said his name was Noah, that he was my boyfriend, that we'd been together for almost 3 years. But the word boyfriend felt too big, too foreign, too sharp against the emptiness in my head. Noah didn't push. He stayed by my side, telling stories, showing pictures, playing songs we supposedly loved. He tried to stitch my memory back together with patience and gentleness. But every time he asked, Do you remember now? I could only shake my head. And with each shake, I watched something in him break. The cruelest part? My body seemed to remember him when my mind refused. The way his hand brushed against mine made electricity crawl up my skin. The way his laugh dropped low made my stomach tighten. At night, when he pulled a chair to sit next to my hospital bed, I would fall asleep easier with him there, like muscle memory of love that my mind had lost. Still, the truth was brutal. I didn't know him, not really, and in that blankness doubt grew like weeds. 2 weeks later, everything exploded. I was discharged from the hospital, barely steady on my feet, when Noah told me we had to be in court. It's about the accident, he explained, his voice careful, almost rehearsed. What about it? I asked. They're trying to say, he swallowed hard. They're trying to say it was your fault. The world tilted. Fault? I didn't even remember the crash. How could I defend myself? When we walked into the courtroom, every head turned. I felt like a ghost standing trial for a life I couldn't remember living. Lawyers whispered. The judge looked tired. And across the room, the other driver's family stared at me like I was poison. And then came the worst blow. The opposing attorney spoke with venom. Your Honor, not only is Mr. Carter reckless behind the wheel, but his lifestyle, his relationship shows a pattern of instability. He cannot be trusted. My chest burned. My lifestyle? My relationship? The words hung like accusations I wasn't prepared for. That's when Noah stood up. His voice shook, but his spine was iron. You don't get to say that about him. You don't get to tear him down because you don't understand us. And then, right there, in front of the entire courtroom, Noah's voice cracked. Tears spilled, unstoppable. He wasn't just defending me. He was begging, pleading for the truth of us to matter. For me to matter. And God help me. Something inside me broke open watching him. I still didn't remember him. But in that moment, I knew one thing. No one cries like that for a stranger. I'll never forget the silence that followed. The judge staring over her glasses. The jury leaning forward. Noah wiping his face with the back of his hand, shaking, trying to keep breathing, and mestering at him like my heart had remembered before my brain ever could. That's where our story cracked wide open. Because memory or not, I had to decide. Do I trust the emptiness in my head? Or do I trust the love bleeding out of his eyes? The gavel struck once, sharp and final. Order, the judge said, her tone calm but commanding. The air in the courtroom thickened with the echo of Noah's broken voice. My chest felt too small to contain everything unraveling inside me. I didn't remember him, God. I wanted to, but the memories were still shadows, but I couldn't ignore the way his grief had carved itself into me like something permanent. The judge cleared her throat. Mr. Miller, please compose yourself. Noah's last name, Miller. A fact I should have already known but didn't. He wiped his face, nodding quickly, ashamed of his own vulnerability. But I wasn't ashamed for him. I wanted to reach across the table, take his hand, whisper some thingany-thing that told him I wasn't as lost as I looked. But I stayed frozen. Because what right did I have, when I wasn't sure if I loved him, or if I was simply clinging to the idea that someone loved me? The trial adjourned for the day, and we walked out into the blinding sun. Reporters buzzed near the steps, microphones thrust forward, voices sharp and greedy. Eli, do you remember the accident? Are you using amnesia as an excuse? Is your boyfriend influencing your testimony? Noah pulled me too close for two people who were supposed to be strangers and shielded me with his body. His arm wrapped around my shoulders, firm and protective. The smell of his cologne hit me like a memory half buried in sand. Something my mind couldn't catch but my body wanted to lean into. We pushed past the chaos, and once the doors of his car shut behind us, the silence weighed heavier than the noise outside. I turned to him. Why did you cry like that? He gripped the steering wheel, knuckles white. Because they're trying to destroy you. And because I can't lose you twice. Twice. His jaw tightened, his eyes glossing with a pain I couldn't read. Once was the accident, when I thought you were gone. And now, he shook his head. Now you're here, breathing, alive, but you don't know me. You don't know us. It's like I lost you all over again. The words hit me like a blow I couldn't dodge. I wanted to tell him something, an apology, maybe, or a promise I wasn't sure I could keep. Instead, I just whispered, I'm trying. His shoulders dropped. Like even that scrap of truth was enough to keep him from falling apart. That night, he insisted I stay at his apartment instead of going back to my empty place. You'll be safer here, he said. Safer. The word felt heavy, protective, almost possessive, but not in a way that scared me. In a way that made me wonder how many nights I had already spent in his bed. How many mornings I had already woken up to his face before the accident stole it all. His apartment smelled like coffee and laundry detergent. Lived in but careful. There were picture frames everywhere, in shelves, on the fridge, by the bedside table. Most of them showed us together, smiling, laughing, holding each other like the world had no sharp edges. I stared at them for too long, searching for recognition. But all I found was the ache of absence. Noah came up behind me, his voice low. You used to say this one was your favorite. He pointed to a picture of us at the beach, my hair windblown, his arms around me. You said it looked like happiness caught off guard. I swallowed hard. It looks like love. He went still, eyes flicking to mine, searching. Yeah, he whispered. It was. The days blurred into a rhythm. Court hearings, endless paperwork, quiet evenings in Noah's apartment where he tried, gently, to give me pieces of our past without forcing them. He cooked meals I apparently used to love. He played music we'd danced to. Sometimes he even sat across from me with tears in his eyes, telling me stories of arguments we had, of road trips gone wrong, of kisses in the rain. But memory remained stubborn, like a locked door with no key. And yet, every night, I found myself watching him more closely. The way his hair curled when it was damp. The way he hummed under his breath when he concentrated. The way his laughter broke open a lightness in me I hadn't felt since before the accident. I may not have remembered our past, but I was starting to feel something in the present. Something dangerous. Something undeniable. One evening, After a particularly brutal day in court, Noah sat on the couch, head in his hands. His suit jacket was tossed over the armrest, his tie loosened. I watched him for a long time, the weight of his exhaustion pressing into me. I sat down beside him. "You okay?" He let out a bitter laugh. "You keep asking me that, and I don't know how to answer. I'm not okay, but I can't be anything else, because you need me to be strong." I hesitated, then placed my hand on his. The moment our skin touched, his breath caught. He didn't look at me like if he did, he might break completely. "Noah," I whispered. "What were we? Really?" His voice shook when he answered. "We were everything." And then he finally looked at me, and God, it was like drowning in someone else's grief and love all at once. I don't know what came over me, but I leaned in hesitant, terrified, desperate, and kissed him. It wasn't memory. It wasn't recognition. It was instinct. And the moment his lips pressed back against mine, warm and trembling, something inside me screamed that this was where I belonged. When we broke apart, Noah was crying again. But this time he was smiling through it. "Even if you never remember," he whispered, forehead against mine, "I'll love you anyway." But the world wasn't finished with us. The opposing lawyer grew more vicious, twisting every detail of the accident into a weapon. My amnesia became their favorite target. They painted me as unreliable, unstable, reckless. And when that wasn't enough, they turned on Noah. "Mr. Miller," the attorney sneered one morning, "isn't it true you've been living with Mr. Carter since the accident? Influencing his testimony? Using your relationship to control his narrative?" Noah stiffened in the witness chair. "I've been taking care of him. He had nowhere else to go." "Taking care of Heimer manipulating him? You have a vested interest in the outcome of this case, do you not?" "That's not what this is." The lawyer smirked. "Or maybe it's exactly what this is. Maybe this isn't about truth or justice. Maybe it's about two men covering for each other." My blood boiled. I stood up before I even realized it. "That's enough," I shouted. The judge banged the gavel. "Mr. Carter, sit down." But I couldn't, because in that moment it didn't matter if I remembered or not. I knew Noah. I knew the way his hands shook when he was scared. I knew the way his love was raw and relentless. I knew he wasn't manipulating me. He was holding me together when the world wanted to tear me apart. And for the first time since the accident, I didn't feel lost. I felt furious. I felt alive. I felt like someone worth fighting for. That night, back in Noah's apartment, I paced the living room while he sat silently on the couch, staring at his hands. "They're trying to make us look like liars," I said. "Like weary what? Criminals? Because we love each other." His eyes lifted, soft but resigned. "It wouldn't be the first time." Something in me cracked. "Why do you put up with it? Why do you keep fighting for me, when I can't even give you what you want most?" He frowned. "What do you think I want most?" I swallowed hard. "Me. The me I used to be." He shook his head slowly, standing to close the distance between us. He cupped my face in his hands, his touch warm and grounding. "No, Eli. What I want most is you, right now. However broken, however lost. You. That's it." My throat closed. Tears stung. I wanted to argue, to tell him he deserved more than half a man with half a memory. But when he kissed me again firm, sure, unshakable, I realized maybe he was right. Maybe love wasn't about remembering. Maybe it was about choosing. And for the first time since the accident, I felt myself choosing him. The next morning began with silence so thick it clung to my skin. Noah moved around the kitchen quietly, setting 2 mugs of coffee on the table. I watched him, the way he poured sugar into his own cup without looking, the way his shoulders curved forward like he was carrying the weight of 1,000 unspoken fears. I wanted to tell him I had dreamed of him, not memories, dreams. Flashes of hands entwined, laughter echoing in open fields, his lips against mine under a storm. But dreams weren't proof. They were only fragments of longing, not the truth he deserved. Instead, I said, "What happens if I never remember?" He froze mid-stir, the spoon clinking against porcelain. Slowly, he lifted his eyes to mine. "Then I'll just have to fall in love with you all over again." The simplicity of it undid me. Court grew harsher with every passing day. The prosecutor was relentless. They brought witnesses who swore I'd been driving recklessly before the accident. They questioned my competence, painting me as a man unfit to testify. But the worst day came when they presented footage grainy, shaky, taken from a street camera. It showed the moment of impact, blurred headlights colliding, my car spinning. The screen went black before the sound of twisting metal ended. I gripped the edge of the table, nausea rolling through me. My body remembered what my mind could not, the sickening drop, the helplessness, the way time fractured in those seconds. When the footage ended, the courtroom was suffocatingly quiet. The prosecutor leaned forward. "Ladies and gentlemen of the jury, this is not about love. It's about responsibility. And Mr. Carter cannot take responsibility if he hides behind the shield of convenient amnesia." Convenient. The word seared like acid. My lawyer objected. Voices rose. The judge struck her gavel. But all I could hear was the echo. Convenient. As if forgetting the person I loved most had been a choice. That night I broke. I sat on the bathroom floor of Noah's apartment, knees to my chest, tears soaking my shirt. My reflection in the mirror across from me looked like a stranger bandaged scars. Hollow eyes, hair that didn't feel like mine. Noah found me there. He didn't say anything at first. He just slid down beside me, shoulder against mine, breathing with me until the silence softened. Finally, I whispered, "What if they're right? What if I really am nothing without you?" He turned to me, fierce and tender all at once. "Don't you dare say that. You're not nothing. You're Eli, the man I love, the man who drives me insane sometimes, who sings off-key in the car, who leaves socks everywhere. The man who kissed me under fireworks our first 4th of July. The man who once told me I was his home." My chest tightened. "I don't remember saying that." His voice broke. "I do." I looked at him, and in that moment, I didn't need memory to know the truth. Noah wasn't just telling a story. He was bleeding it. The next day in court, something inside me shifted. The prosecutor tried again to tear Noah apart, to discredit him. But this time, I didn't stay silent. When I was called to the stand, my lawyer warned me to be careful. "Answer only what you know for certain," she said. The prosecutor smirked, circling me like a predator. "Mr. Carter, you admit you don't recall the night of the accident?" "Yes." "You admit you don't remember your relationship with Mr. Miller?" I hesitated but nodded. "Yes." "Then tell me, how can this court trust anything you say? How can we believe you didn't cause this accident when your own memory is missing?" I leaned forward, my voice low but steady. "Because memory isn't the only truth." He blinked, thrown off. I continued, louder now, the words pouring out before I could stop them. "I may not remember every moment of that night. I may not remember the last 3 years of my life. But I know who I am right now. And I know who Noah is. He's not manipulating me. He's not controlling me. He's saving me every single day when I wake up and face a world that doesn't make sense anymore. That's not convenient. That's love. And you don't get to twist that into something ugly." The courtroom went still. The prosecutor's smirk faltered, his next question stumbling. But I didn't care, because for the first time since the accident, I felt like my voice was mine again. Later, outside the courthouse, Noah grabbed my hand before I could pull away. "You didn't have to say all that," he murmured. "Yes," I said, squeezing his hand. "I did." Our eyes met, and for a moment, the noise of the world fell away. The cameras, the reporters, the whispers, none of it mattered. Because there was something between us stronger than memory, something alive. But the fight wasn't over. The opposing side had one last card to play, the testimony of the other driver's brother, a man with eyes like steel and a voice sharpened by grief. "He killed her," the man said, pointing at me with trembling hands. "My sister is dead because of him." Gasps rippled through the courtroom. My heart plummeted. Dead? No one had told me someone had died. I turned to Noah, horror in my eyes. He looked down, shame pulling his features tight. "Why didn't you tell me?" I whispered. He whispered back. "Because I didn't want you to drown in it. You were already drowning." But I was drowning now anyway. That night I couldn't sleep. The image of the grieving brother haunted me. His words clung to my skin, branding me guilty even without memory. Noah tried to hold me, but I pulled away. "I can't," I said, voice shaking. How can you love me when I might have? When I might have killed someone? His eyes shone wet, desperate. Because I know you, Eli. I know you wouldn't. You don't know that. Yes, I do. His voice cracked. I was in the car with you. I saw the whole thing. She ran the red light. You swerved to protect us. You saved me. The words hit me like a thunderclap. You were with me. He nodded, tears streaming. I've been living with that moment every day since. Watching you break apart while I carry the memory alone. My breath stopped. He hadn't just lost me. He had been there. He had survived because of me. Noah. My voice was nothing but a rasp. Why didn't you say anything in court? Because it wouldn't matter without evidence. They'd call me biased. They'd say I'd lie for you. And maybe I would, but not about this. Never about this. I reached for him then, clutching his shirt, pressing my forehead against his chest. His heartbeat thundered under my skin, fast and frantic. For the first time, I didn't just want to remember. I needed to. The trial dragged on, every day a new wound. But something had changed in me. Even without the past, I knew the truth now. I wasn't alone in that car. I wasn't the monster they wanted me to be. And I wasn't nothing. I was Eli, the man Noah loved. The man who had once promised him forever. I wasn't sure Wiener if memories would return. But I knew this. I wanted to rebuild them one piece at a time with him. And maybe, just maybe, that was enough. That was when I realized the accident hadn't just taken my memory. It had given me a choice. To believe the emptiness. Or to believe the love standing right in front of me. And I chose Noah. Every damn time. The final week of the trial came like the edge of a storm, sharp, electric, suffocating. Every night, I lay awake in Noah's bed, staring at the ceiling, listening to the sound of his quiet, uneven breathing beside me. He tried to hide it, but I could feel the fear rolling off him, pressing into my skin as if it belonged to me too. The prosecutor had played every card. My memory loss, the victim's grieving family, the footage that told only half a story. But Noah had told me something they didn't know had been in the car that night. He had seen the truth. The question was, would the truth be enough? On the morning of the final hearing, I caught Noah standing in front of the mirror, straightening his tie with trembling hands. His reflection looked back at meteored eyes, jaw clenched, heart on fire. I walked over, placing my hand on his. Hey! I whispered. He froze, then looked at me through the mirror. No matter what happens today, I said, we walk out together. You hear me? Together. His throat bobbed as he swallowed hard. Eli, I squeezed his hand tighter. I may not remember everything, but I know this. I'm not afraid anymore, because I've already chosen you. His eyes softened, brimming with tears, but this time he didn't break. He nodded, pulling me into a quick, desperate kiss before we left. The courtroom was a battlefield. The prosecutor made their closing argument, voice booming with certainty, painting me as reckless, irresponsible, dangerous. They reminded the jury of the victim's brother, of the footage of my lost memory. They said love had no place in justice. And then it was our turn. My lawyer stood, calm and steady, but her words were only half the fight. Because at the very last moment, she looked at me and asked quietly, do you want to speak? Every muscle in my body tensed. The courtroom stared. Noah's eyes met mine, wide with fear but also faith. Yes, I said. I stood at the front, the weight of 100 eyes burning into me. I don't remember the night of the accident. I began, my voice shaking. I don't remember the sound of the crash or the way the world must have looked in that moment. But I do know this. I wasn't alone. Noah was in the car with me. He saw what happened. He saw that I tried to save us. And if you don't believe me, then believe the fact that he's still here. He could have walked away. He could have left me broken in that hospital bed. But he didn't. He stayed. And every single day since, he's fought for me. I paused, the silence wrapping tight. I may not remember our past, but I know our present. I know the way he looks at me, the way he loves me, the way he cried in this courtroom because the truth matters more to him than his own pride. And I know one thing with absolute certainty. Love doesn't make us weaker. It makes us braver. And I'm standing here today because of that love. Because of him. I looked at the jury, my chest raw and open. So if you're asking who I am, if you're asking whether you can trust mites this. I'm a man who tried to protect the person he loves. And if that makes me guilty, then I'll carry it. The room was silent when I sat down. Not a shuffle, not a cough. Just the echo of my words hanging heavy in the air. The judge gave her instructions. The jury left to deliberate. And then all we could do was wait. Noah's hand found mine under the table. His grip was strong, grounding. I leaned into it, closing my eyes, listening to the pounding of my own heart. Minutes felt like hours. Hours felt like days. And then the jury returned. The foreman stood, paper trembling in his hand. We find the defendant, Eli Carter. Not guilty. The words hit me like sunlight breaking through storm clouds. My lungs filled for the first time in weeks. Beside me, Noah let out a sound half sob, half laugh as he pulled me into his arms. The courtroom erupted voices, shouts, the slam of the gavel, but none of it touched me. All I felt was him, his arms around me, his tears against my skin, his breath whispering my name like a prayer finally answered. We had won. Not just freedom, not just justice. We had won us. Life after the trial wasn't a fairy tale. The grief of the victim's family lingered like a shadow. My memory didn't magically snap back. Some nights, I still woke up with the phantom sound of screeching tires in my head. But we built something new. Noah moved slowly, gently. He never pushed, never demanded. He showed me the small things first: our favorite diner, the park where we walked our dog, the playlist we made together on a road trip. Each piece was a thread, weaving me back into a life I was learning to choose again. Sometimes memories flickered. A flash of his smile in the glow of fireworks. The feel of his hand in mine as we ran through pouring rain. A kiss stolen in the back of a movie theater. They came like fireflies, brief, beautiful, impossible to catch. But Noah always smiled when I told him. It doesn't matter how fast they come back, he said. What matters is that you're here. One evening, months later, we stood on the roof of our apartment building, the city stretching wide below us. The sun was setting, painting the sky in bruised purples and golds. I turned to him, heart heavy with words I had been carrying for too long. Noah, I don't know if I'll ever remember everything, but I don't think I need to anymore. He tilted his head, curious. Because I'm falling in love with you right now, I said. All over again. And maybe that's enough. Maybe that's better. His eyes softened, shining with tears. He stepped closer, his hands cupping my face the way they had the night I kissed him first after the accident. You don't know how long I've been waiting to hear that, he whispered. And then he kissed me, slow and certain, the kind of kiss that tasted like forever. I woke up after the accident not remembering who he was. But I will spend the rest of my life choosing him. Every day, every moment, until memory or no memory doesn't matter anymore. Because love is not just what we remember, it's what we build. And with Noah, I finally understood I had everything. Thank you for listening. If you find it interesting, please like and subscribe to follow the next stories.